Hi everyone and welcome to RevMax.com. In this video tutorial I want to show you how to install our self-hosted tracker on a server that uses cPanel. cPanel is one of the most popular control panels for web hosting accounts, so it's most likely that you have this at your web host. If not, I'm going to do some other tutorials as well. For you advanced users, you might not need to see this, but I just want to show how quick and easy we've made this installation. And then again, if you want us to install it for you and you've got just a basic server, maybe you have Nginx and you don't have cPanel, our team's more than willing to do it for you for our $99.95 fee. You can order that from right inside of our dashboard here by clicking on add-ons and ordering it from there. But those of you that want to do it yourself, it's very quick and easy, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing you need is to download the software. So you just click this download now, and it's going to deploy down to your desktop or wherever you set on your computer. Next, I recommend looking at our Getting Started guide because that's, of course, going to help you out. Under the Support tab, you can click on Knowledge Base, and it's going to send you off to here. And we can read a little bit about the requirements. Under the Getting Started tab, we can read about the requirements that we need to meet with our server. You need to have at least a dedicated server or a VPS with at least 4 gigabytes of RAM. So this is because once you start sending traffic through this application, you have to make sure that you have enough resources to handle the volume. And since we allow for unlimited clicks, unlimited volume, then of course you have to have hardware that works accordingly. You would not want to set up the RevMax self-hosted tracker on a shared HostGator account because it probably would not function very well. So you want to have at least 4 gigabytes of RAM. If you're using cloud hosting, just make sure you have at least 4 gigs of RAM and you'll be all set. PHP 5.6 to 7.0. I know a lot of people have moved to 7.0, PHP 7.0, so that's very good if you have it. 7.1 is not supported yet, and that's because the IonCube loader has not came out for 7.1. So, of course, as soon as the folks at IonCube get their stuff ready for that, then we will have that issue released out. You need to have a MySQL database. Maria is actually preferred. Most VPSs nowadays are built standard with Maria, so if in doubt, you can always ask your web host, but you should have that pretty standard in a LAMP stack or in most setups. You should be able to support the following database engines. Depending on your experience, it might just be InnoDB. You might have Percona, but if you don't know, then if chances are, if you have MySQL, then you're going to have these supported engines. The IonCube loader, that's an easy install for your web host, or they might already have it installed. The MB PHP extension, again, that's easy to install when you compile Apache or when you compile Lightspeed, but just want to make sure that's included. The curl extension and the PDO MySQL extension. So all of this information, you can simply ask your web hosts, and they'll be more than happy to help you out and make sure that you have all of these criteria met before you get started. Okay, once you know that, you can click on the install guide, and then we have a nice step-by-step tutorial of how to do everything. So I'm going to record the video to do this, and I'm just going to go through the quick start steps. But of course, if you want to, if you're using Nginx or something different, then you can read through all of this stuff, and we'll show you exactly how to do it. But you're going to see through this tutorial, it's not very complicated for those of you using cPanel. Okay, so I've logged into my cPanel account. This is what you want to go follow along. Log into the domain that you want to install your tracker on, log into the cPanel, and get to this page. Depending on your web host, it may look a little bit different, but for the most part, everything is the same. So the first thing we want to do is we want to upload our files because, of course, that's what we're installing. So I'm going to go to File Manager, and as soon as I get here, I'm going to be in just our home directory, and I'm going to click Upload. Next, I'm going to grab the file where I downloaded it so I can see I've got my RevMax.zip file, and I'm just going to upload the whole zip. So I'll just drop it right in here, and you can see it's uploading. Just takes a few seconds depending how fast your internet connection is. Now we can go back, and we can see we have this zip file. So now we need to extract it. So we're going to click on the RevMax.zip and click Extract. Now we need to tell it where to extract to. I just want it in the same directory that it's in, so I'm going to click Extract Files. Okay, and you can see that it extracted everything out, and now I have my RevMax folder here. Now it's important to note that I'm installing the tracker above the public HTML. I'm doing this for security reasons, and I recommend you do too. That way that none of the PHP files are accessible through the web. So it's only accessible through the script, and it's just a secure way of doing things. There is a couple of modifications we have to make really quick, but I'll show you it's quite simple. First thing, I like to always just go ahead and delete the zip file. It's just good server admin practice to keep your directory clean. So I just like to delete that out of there. Once we do that, we have to go move some files around. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we can view all the files. So we click on Settings right here and click Show Hidden Files. For some reason, cPanel does not default by showing the hidden files, and you miss the htaccess files, which can be a pain in the neck. So we're going to do that and click Save. Now you can see we're seeing a few files here that we didn't see before, and we don't need to worry about those. So we're going to go in here to RevMax, and we want to pull the admin directory, the htaccess, and the index file, and we want to move this to the public directory, okay? The source directory, that's where the files of the script live, and that's where they're going to stay, out of the public HTML. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go to Move. And now I'm going to type in, this is the current path where they are. I want to take them to public HTML. So I'm going to type in public_HTML. Now if you notice here to your left, the file structure is here. So if you get confused and don't remember, you can see where we are here and where I want these 3 files. So I'm going to click Move Files. Now, once I do that, I have to set the path to my SRC directory. So if I click in here, you can see it tells me where the directory is. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that and go back over to our public HTML. Now I need to edit our index, so I'm going to click on Edit and click Edit. Now I have to include the full directory here, so I'm going to enter revmax/src, and I actually have to include, I'm going to go ahead and include /home/tutorial. The tutorial is my username, and /home is just the home directory. So I'm just including the absolute path to these files, to where the files live. And again, we're doing this because we're not installing it in the public HTML directory for security. And you can always see the full directory to the path is here, and so you can get whatever your username is. I'm going to click Save Changes, close it out. I'm going to go into the admin directory. I'm going to go click on Edit on the PHP, index.php, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add the absolute path to where my files live. So you can see I just added in the full directory to where my source files are located. You can click Save. So pretty painless so far. Just want to make sure those are in there. It's just the admin and then the main index. It's just those 2 files. It's just those 2 edits. And you can see inside of our instructions, inside of our installation guide, we have them right here, exactly where they need to be. Okay, now there's 2 more files you need to edit, and we're done doing any file edits. The first one is your license key. So let's go over here and grab it. Right here is your license key. So we're going to copy this. We're going to go back into our file manager. We're going to go up one level, up one level. We're going to go to RevMax. We're going to click on our source. We are going to go into our config, and you're going to see license.ini. So we'll click Edit, Edit, and paste it in there. Once that's in there, we're going to save and close. Now we need to add our database. So we're going to click on Database and click Edit and Edit. Now we have to create the database really quick. So we're going to go back into our cPanel. We're going to type in MySQL. We'll click on MySQL Databases, and we're going to create a database. We're going to call it just RevMax. Create the database. We're going to copy this. We're going to go back to the file that we were editing and enter the name of the database. And then we're going to go back here, go back, create a database user. We're going to call it just RevMax. Generate a password for it, and create the user. So we're going to go back here and enter our password. Go back over here, grab our username. In there, and we're going to click Save. Now we have to go back to cPanel, and we have to add that user to the database. So we just scroll down here. This is the user, this is the database, click Add. And this just assigns the permissions. So think about it as you're giving the user database permission to use the database. Click Make Changes. And now we are finished editing files. We We now have a successful database connection, and we're ready to run the installation file. So now if you want to get into having slaves, different, and this is for server clusters, so maybe you have a multiple database servers. This is where you would set that up as well. Now for this installation, I'm just going to assume that you're using a basic hosting account with just your database and your files all on the same server. So that's what we're doing, just the master database server. If you want to get into more complicated stuff, then we can support it, and we're more than happy to help you get that all set up. But more details are available inside of here. But for this install, I'm just going to keep it very simple. And of course, for you beginners out there, if you blow up and you need to get some slave servers and clusters and all that set up, then of course you can move it out later as well. So now we're going to go to our browser, and we want to enter in our domain or a subdomain, but we want to follow it by /admin/install. So I'm going to click enter on mine, and you're going to see now I've got the installation page. And once again, this is all in our guide if you forget, but it's just going to be your domain or subdomain /admin/install. Okay, so now you're going to see we do a couple compatibility checks. It's going to make sure that you have the correct version of PHP that we support. It's going to make sure you have the required extensions, which we talked about. It's also going to select by default the database engine that you have. So MariaDB, this is by default. We've got our license key here because we've already entered it in the file. So now we just have to fill out our user information, and we'll be well on our way. So I'm going to enter my name, Gray. We'll just call this RevMax. Right at RevMax.com. And then you're going to, I like to generate a password. I like to use a very secure password. That's why we put it in here, because I cannot tell you how many people that will use the word password for their password, and that's not secure. You don't want anyone getting in to see your stats, so you want to make it hard. So use the password generator, write it down, save it somewhere safe, and it's very smart to change that frequently too. Next, you must select your time zone. I'm in Central Time, so I'm just going to type in Chicago, America, Chicago, and click install. Okay, now at this point in time, the software is kind of doing its thing on your server. You don't have to do anything. It just automatically installs. And you can see your account has been created. One RevMax is my username, and there's my password. So I can click to log in. One RevMax, enter my password. And now I have successfully installed the tracking platform on my server, and we are ready to get rocking and rolling. You can look at our other tutorials on YouTube to learn how to set up your account and your traffic sources and your campaigns and everything, but that's how you install it. As you can see, very quick and easy. Upload the zip, move your files to the public HTML, a couple quick edits, create the database, and then you're off to the races. As I said though, if you want us to do it for you, we're more than happy to do it for our installation fee. If you have a more complicated setup, again, we can help with that as well. So just let us know. But other than that, thank you for purchasing the RevMax self-hosted tracker, and happy tracking with all your campaigns.